There's a difference between processes and systems, right?
Yes.
Everybody has a process. You had a process by which you got to where you are now.
Yeah.
But if you don't write it down, then it can't be replicated.
Right.
And then it's not a system that you can use to, do it over and over again. And even more importantly, that someone else can do.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Medeiros.
And I'm Colleen Hungerford. And this is We're Doing This Right, right? A podcast for the whole woman, mind, body, soul, and business.
It's humor infused, as real as it gets, inspiring, and you'll walk away with real usable tools for life and business.
If you love what you're hearing, please share with a friend, subscribe so you'll never miss an episode, and rate and review whenever you listen.
So find your earbuds, lace up your walking shoes, or cozy up with a beverage of your choice. It's time to dig in.
I just think to understand, when people are like, well, how did you do what you did in such a short period of time? It takes a minute, because when you're doing it and you're doing everything and you're doing all of these things so fast, it takes more than a minute. It takes a while to sit down and be like, okay, what systems and processes did I do subconsciously or consciously that got me to this point? And I think that's where, in my opinion, some leaders struggle, because they're like, well, I just did it.
Right.
I don't know how to explain what I did. I've just got it. I've just got the it factor. And it's like, I get that, but there were some tangible steps that you did. So how do we do it?
Right. And this is where it gets back to what I talked about last time, which I say all the time. There's a difference between processes and systems, right?
Yes.
Everybody has a process. You had a process by which you got to where you are now.
Yeah.
But if you don't write it down, then it can't be replicated.
Right.
And then it's not a system that you can use to, do it over and over again. And even more importantly, that someone else can do.
Yes.
Right. So that like Bhavna can do in your place next time.
So I have lots of these checklists because Susie has held my hand from the beginning of my real estate business. I was so fortunate to literally grow up with Susie holding my hand in this business. My most effective and cherished checklist is my open house prep checklist. And it literally is step by step. Everything is linked to a template or the form you're going to need. You could sit down and in an hour work so much quicker than having to what's next.
Yeah.
And I've handed it off to Hannah, who is our ops manager now and is currently getting licensed, so soon will be an agent on the team. And she said to me, Cheryl, if everything could be in this form, it would be fantastic. So the challenge there, which we all know, is the time to slow down so you can speed up. And I need every one of my checklists, and they're close, but that one is just fine-tuned and beautiful. And I don't know why that one's been the easiest one for me to fine-tune. It's just not as big as an entire transaction. So realistically, I need to take bite-sized chunks off of this and perfect each path along the way. And that's the feedback from the person I handed it to was thank you. I can sit down and do this so confidently because I know exactly what it is that you want, and I know how to get to everything, and I know how to do everything. Colleen, when you edited the podcast last week, that was decent, right? There was no written, but it was I had videos numbered of this is the first thing you do. This is the second thing you do. This is the third. Yeah. And that took me months to realize how do I, because some of it is how do I systemize this? How do I systemize my process? That is a challenging step to take.
Right.
But it's so effective once you do it.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I would have been fucking lost doing that, by the way. And I went through those videos and I had the editing page up, and then the other tab was the video, and I watched the video, and then I'd go back and then I do it. And then I go back to the video and had those, and then was able to do it, and made me more self-sufficient and less oh fuck, I don't want to bother Cheryl. I don't know, blah, 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 and I could do it.
Right.
It doesn't mean that it's always easy for that person, I guess, but it did set me up for better success than you just being hey, can you edit the podcast? And I've been I'm so crying.
And that's because I remember when I had to learn to do it.
Yeah.
It was my first time. I'd never done it. And I would have to go to the Descript page and search. And I didn't even know what it necessarily was that I was looking to do. Right. So I didn't even know what search items to search to find it.
Yeah.
It's inventing the wheel. And
Yeah.
why would I ever want someone who's helping me to have to take the time helping me, and or not in this scenario, Colleen, but like in others, like I don't want to pay someone
Right.
to redo what I've already figured out.
And spend
Right. But this is
hours and
perfect.
hours. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect example. You said, I helped you with certain elements of obviously not every part of your real estate journey, but you would ask me, and if I had it, I would give it to you, versus you not knowing even where to start with this podcast editing. Like, if you have a resource that you can go to, whether it's, me or another coach or whatever, I just think, often about, like, both of you are athletes. If you had started in your athletic career at any point and not had a coach along the way,
Yeah. Figure it
how,
out.
how would you have improved? Like, again, you don't even know what you don't know.
Right.
And so I just think at every opportunity, I'm always looking for a shortcut. I'm
Yeah.
always looking for, somebody tell me how they got this done, because otherwise it's going to take you weeks and months and years to figure out the right way. Having said that, regardless, no matter what, it's an iteration.
Yeah.
It is a process of like trial and error and getting it right and getting it wrong and then just getting it better. And you're never done.
I wanted to also just give permission to the people like me who this is really hard, right? Like this is find somebody who can help you do this, right?
Yep.
Like find the Susie, find the Bhavna. This is right in
Mm-hmm.
Bhavna's wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And she and I work so well together. And she just said to me, Colleen, your job is to get the clients to make the money to promote, to market, whatever. And I am going to do the systems.
Right.
And we talk about it all the time, right? We're always refining, we're always whatever. But like, if this isn't where your strengths are, if we're leaning into our strengths, this is a who, not how situation.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you are clear on who you're going, like the hole you're going to fill of any kind, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's a financial person, whether it's an administrative person, whether it's a social media person, whatever, take the time to write out the job description and what you are trying to hire. So I tell people all the time, when you're hiring a virtual assistant, that is not a one size fit all situation.
Mm-mm.
Not all virtual assistants are created equal. They're obviously human beings. Every single one of them is unique. And so take the time to write out clearly what will mean success for you.
Yeah.
So, I say to people, like, an example is, not everyone actually cares that their VA is detail oriented. That sounds like such a no-brainer thing, but maybe that's not as high up on your list of qualifications as someone who is a creative thinker.
Right.
I personally don't want my VA to be a creative thinker. Like, I specifically want my VA to be proactive, but not too proactive.
Right.
That is in my, like, bullet points of criteria, right? And I am a stickler for typos and proofreading, right? I want someone who is a really great proofreader. I want someone who's a quick learner. I also tell people, think about the energy level you want. That's something that not a lot of people think about.
Oh my God. Yes.
But in your soul that that's important to you. Like, some people want someone who's super even keeled, and some people are going to want like joy bombs. I want someone who shows up with positive energy and a lot of, excitement and go getter attitude all day long.
Yep.
But some people, that's not what they're looking for, right? Maybe they're too much of that and they need somebody to balance them out. So, like, you really need to think about what, again, at the 30, 60, 90-day points, what will you be measuring them on? What do you imagine hearing yourself saying to them? You didn't do this well, or I love that you did this. Like, think through those things and then write them down so that that's clear for everybody.
I got a lot of clarity this year at some point when I was working through some of this as we're preparing to grow. I'm so good at the 90%. The first 90%, I am phenomenal at. The last 10%, the proofreading, the checking for typos, the making sure I included the address and the price on a fucking listing. Like, that last 10%, I do need someone's eyes on.
Yeah.
And so I have specifically put that in the job description as your job is to check my work. I am not perfect and I will never claim to be perfect. I'm great at so many fucking things.
Yeah.
And I am not good at the last 10%.
Right.
I hate the last 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And
even want to try to do the last 10%.
you may want someone who's a real like self-starter, or
Yeah.
you want someone who just can take great direction. That's not always the same person.
And
You know
it's
what I mean?
also not always the same job, right? Like you
Yeah,
might need those two different personalities for different things.
that's right.
I remember
That's the other.
when I worked as an athletic director and when I worked as an athletic trainer and our athletic director, we were hiring the third person into our department who was going to be a strength and conditioning coach. And this was somebody that I had to work with all the time, right? And we were interviewing, we were reading resumes, blah, blah, blah. And my athletic director would interview first, and then we would talk about it. You know, I was also 26 years old, but I was like, David, who was this like English guy, I was like, David, what's their fun factor? And he's like, what? I was like, what's their fun factor? Like, we have to work with this person every single day, like on a scale of 1 to 10, like, how fun are they? And he was like, so we're going to hire them on fun factor? I was like, yeah, man.
It's a component.
That has to be a component if that's important to you,
Yeah,
100%.
we can't have a 3 in here. That'd be so boring. Like, I was like, it needs to be a 6 or above, like 6
Yeah,
or above. That is the scale. So then
that's
and this is interesting, and I know you talk about this. I think Susie is the common language, right? Like
mhm.
we had a common language at that point. Every time he would interview somebody, I was like, "Well, what's the fun factor?" And he's like, "I don't know.
Yeah,
They're like a 3 or a 2." And I was like, "Man, like we're not doing it." Like,
yeah.
Bottom of the pile.
yeah,
Well, that's why, again, it goes back to your values, your standards, your mission, what your culture. What is
yeah,
it that you're trying to create in your organization? It's
yeah,
not just about a person that's like filling a slot that, is punching, I don't know, holes or
yeah. Like
whatever.
if you come to my team and your fun factor is a 2, we're not going to take you.
It's not a
There's
good
a
fit.
fun factor and a fabulous factor in the Maverick
Yeah,
group.
Yes,
yeah.
that's right. There's a
And
lot of
it's not that
F's.
we're mean or we're rating anybody, but like there is a culture,
Yeah,
and I am not somebody, there are some people who are really animated and real fun and want to be main character and they don't want anybody else to be main character.
yeah. You made me think too, Colleen, of a really important part of support, that's ongoing structure in terms of your team and having ongoing regular touch points.
Mm,
You cannot plan to be a leader of any type of team or organization and think that you're just going to be completely hands off. That's just not
oh,
realistic. But there are a lot of team leaders, we know
yeah,
them, right? Who hire people and who just expect them to figure it out.
yeah,
And that's just a success. That's a formula for failure for sure. I advocate for Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings minimum,
yeah.
because that cadence of every other day is really important. If you try to do even and Thursday, which a lot of people like try to sort of cheat the system and do Tuesday, Thursday, or maybe once a week, I just don't think that's enough. I don't
Mhm.
think that's enough support and enough structure for people. And it really doesn't give you enough feedback about what they're doing and whether or not they're a good fit. So it can be a 10-minute
Yeah,
meeting. This
yeah,
should not, in fact, be a longer meeting than half an hour. If you're just talking about status or talking about, you're not talking about like long-term goals or, anything like that in
right.
these touch meetings. But if you're running a kind of organization where they feel supported, so it's not really a matter of you overseeing them so much as you're providing support for them so that they feel like they have the tools to succeed.
Yeah. And I think even so, we do that. We meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And actually, my team asked to meet only Monday, Friday. We tried that and it's not great. I'm going to tell you.
It's not great because there's just too much mist in between. And then what happens? Because then I hear this. Well, we talk all the time. We're texting all day long. And I say, well, imagine how much less you'd have to do if you met Monday, Wednesday, Friday for half an hour.
And I think,
How much more would get covered
yeah.
and how much less people would feel like they're flailing in between, right? Because
And
that's what you want to avoid.
yeah, and I think one of the things that, is maybe obvious but not obvious is like you put these systems and processes in and they continue to tweak, right?
Hmm.
Like we're like, okay, we're going to meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then it was just me and Nicole meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday, right? And then we added Bhavna in. It's like, oh, okay, now Bhavna and Nicole and I are meeting Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So now the agenda has to be a little bit more firmed up on these meetings, right? And now we're going to add 2 more people in. So now we really need to have like a more firm agenda on what we're
That's
talking
right.
about in these meetings. And every time you add or change or shift, all these things shift a little bit, right?
Right.
In certain places, like
Right.
you just have to
So,
adapt to the team.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings should always be tactical.
Yeah.
They should simply be action items that need to be covered in the in between days.
Yeah.
And then you should have like a weekly or monthly meeting, however, whatever cadence makes sense for you, for strategic conversations, for
Right.
more, larger discussions that you need to have as a group, training or whatever. But those Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings should be purely tactical. Like
Yeah.
what needs to get done, who's doing it, when is it due?
Exactly. So that was where Rachel and I failed constantly in these meetings was we would start talking like this needs to be done and then we would just start doing it. Now the
That's right.
meeting's 7 hours long because
Yep.
we're trying to make the list and do the things and then we're distracted. We're code switching. Like that meeting needs to be purely who is doing what, when is it happening by,
That's
and then
right.
move on to like just you're assigning the checklist, you're assigning
Yep.
the task list all day
And
long.
those are the rules that I give
Yeah.
my coaching clients. 15 to 30 minutes, and in the beginning you should set a timer because time, we all have time blindness, right? So it will run away with you and then it'll be too long. When it gets too long, then no one wants to do it, right?
Yeah.
That's the killer of status meetings.
Yeah.
So 15 to 30 minutes, set a timer. It needs to be a hard rule because then you have to fit it in. It's like the size of your purse.
Right.
You can't do the tasks. You just need to talk about the tasks. You can never ever do the tasks. No, like, let me just do that. It's going to take me 5 minutes, right? None of that. Anything else that comes up, you need to parking lot it and have a separate meeting to discuss it. And all you talk about, like Cheryl said, is what is the task? Who's doing it? When is it due?
Yeah.
What is it? Who's doing it? When is it due? Did it get done? And then, and then you're done. And then people can have their marching orders. They have security, they have clarity, they have direction, they know their expectations, and everyone can succeed and answer those questions for themselves. What do I need to do next? And they don't have to worry about what they're forgetting because
Right.
that's all been covered.
Right. Right.
Susie, I
Okay.
feel so empowered.
Me
I'm
too.
gonna text my team right now and say, get ready.
That's right.
We've got a status meeting on Wednesday.
And when you have that support of the other team members, I mean, it really is so freeing. Like you both said in the beginning of the call, you were able to send your team members off on their vacations without their laptops, and they'll be able to return the favor.
Mm-hmm.
And they already have for you, Cheryl, right?
Mm-hmm.
While you were
Right.
taking care of your children. And it's just such a beautiful feeling to be able to actually power down and recharge so that you can come back to fight another day.
I think too, like I was gone for a bit and I did bring my computer, but that was on me. That wasn't because I needed to. That was me being a control freak, if you will, situation.
I have just started to take baby steps where like I would go to August softball practice in the evenings and not bring my computer. It was a baby step.
Yep.
I still have not gone on a trip without a computer.
It wasn't because I didn't trust that. I very thankfully was able to hand everything over to Bhavna. And here's what made it work for me as somebody who had been doing this by myself for a while is she gave me status reports every single day. This is done. This is done. This is done. And she asked me, she's like, I don't want you to be flooded with emails. Do you want me to CC you on these emails or not? I said, please CC me on the email so that I know that it's done. So it's out of my brain.
That's right.
I don't care if I get a billion emails because if it's not there, I will continue to think about it until I know it's taken care of. And this is, I think, that process, that transitioning process of trust.
Yeah, let me ask you this. When you had your laptop while you're away and you were checking your emails, did you feel compelled to take action on a lot of them?
No, I didn't need to.
So that's the difference. So first of all, I want you to erase control freak from your vocabulary. Don't ever call yourself a control freak ever again. Okay.
How about a control fabulous diva?
You can call yourself a diva. Take out any negative judgment.
Yeah.
Because I do take my laptop with me on vacation on occasion because I don't want to come back to 100 emails.
Yes.
Right.
That's
it
my
really
stance.
helps me actually relax.
Yes.
And not stress about what I'm going to come back to. But I don't actually even have the energy or bandwidth when I'm on vacation brain to make any decisions or respond to things. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I turn off that part of my brain. I'm just turning on the part that can kind of review and check off and like set it aside. I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything wrong with that. And when I say, go on vacation without your laptop, I don't mean that you have to completely shut off work. You can if that relaxes you. My former partner did that and was great. Like we didn't hear from her for like a week. And that's totally fine.
Right.
But for me, I actually like to check my emails just so that I don't have to read them when I get back, because that would be more stressful for me.
That is the exact, and I feel comfort in you saying that because I consider you an opinion leader in my life. But like somebody's like, turn off your phone at the end of the day. And I'm like, fucking no way, man. Because if I turn my phone on at 9 a.m. and I have 75 text messages, that stresses me out
Yeah.
versus getting those text messages over those hours of time. Like I
Here's
would
the
rather see
only,
them, put it on my
yeah.
checklist or put it on my task list, do it later, whatever it is, or no, and instead of being just flooded and overwhelmed.
So I highly recommend, if you haven't listened to it yet, the Trevor Noah podcast episode. You guys know that's the other podcast that I religiously listen to. His episode with the author of Anxious Generation
Hmm.
was a great summary, I
Jonathan
think,
Haidt.
of the
I love
book.
him.
Yeah. And I do think that the one caution I have with regard to like not turning off your phone or checking your laptop on vacation is just being aware that that is part of how we get our dopamine hits. And
Yeah.
like that's that's something to be wary of, right?
Yeah.
And he mentioned that especially for our children, because of the amount of time they're on devices, anytime not on their devices feels boring. And I know that's true for me
Sure.
as well, right? So, like, that I do think is something to be mindful of and definitely something to like detox from
Yeah. That's
I am
vacation.
true.
starting to leave my phone in the other room for an hour at a time. And it's a very freeing and peaceful feeling for me. I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel bored. How could I? There's a zillion things to
Yeah,
do
I
with my
mean,
kids,
simple
but
things like going on a walk with my dog without my phone, is like an exercise. And like, I feel like it's a little bit of withdrawal that I have to put myself
I
through.
hate it.
I
All of this
agree.
is making me feel uncomfortable. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't like
Well,
it. But
and
I
I think
get what
part of
you're
it,
saying. I get what you're saying.
part of it, Colleen, is that our business and personal it's not separated. We don't have a nine
No.
to five. Our clients are our friends. Our coworkers are our friends.
Mm-hmm.
There's things I have seen some teams divide up communication in a way where like, and I think Colleen, you or Susie, you coached to this at the beginning, but if you use like Google Chat for like transaction things and then your
Yeah.
text messaging for personal and like other
Yeah.
things, that can be a good way to kind of
Yeah.
put some separation if that's useful and helpful to you. Like it's going to be
Yeah.
different for everybody.
And I've really started to relook at my notifications. I actually turned off the notifications for
Oh,
texts.
I don't have any
Oh, for
notifications.
texts.
I don't get any
Yeah.
notifications. I get zero
Good for you.
notifications. Oh,
Because you're on your
none.
phone every minute then.
That's also true.
She is.
That's also true. But here's the thing that makes a difference for me is there have been jobs that I hated.
Mm.
I hated. And I wanted to slam my computer shut and I wanted to put my phone away and I didn't want to have anything to do with work. This job, this thing that I'm building, I love. I love it. I love it like my kids, like sub kid, right? Not as much as my kids. But for me, and I know this sounds cheesier, sounds what it is, and I know maybe I need to chill out so that I don't burn out, but I love it. I don't
Mhm.
want to be away from it. I want to be with it just as much as I also want to be with my kids. I also want to be with my husband, and we know that there's no balance. So sometimes those things change and fluctuate and whatever. But I think that for me is the difference is that when I get a
So,
message, I don't get angry about it. I don't get
yeah.
exasperated about it. I get excited about it. I get,
The only thing I would say to that, Colleen, because I think we had a conversation in our networking group about this, and I know a couple of people felt sort of like, I think you included, felt sort of,
yeah,
uh, you know, the red flags about, okay, well, be careful with that kind of attitude. I wouldn't say you have to change anything about that, but from somebody who for 7 years loved real estate hard,
Yeah.
every day, I love my job. There
Yeah.
were stressful parts, but I loved it
Sure.
enough that because you can't do it without really enjoying it, I think, to that level. I did hit a wall.
Yeah.
And, and if you want to have longevity in this, like I knew for me, I knew that there was an end coming. Like I knew that I always
Yeah.
said, I don't want to die a realtor. Like I'm not going to,
Yeah.
this isn't the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But if you do want to have longevity about anything, right? This is true for when you're working out,
Yeah.
right? When you're doing any kind of activity or a relationship, there is like, you just have to be mindful. It's not that you have to pump the brakes per se, but intensity will only get you so, like adrenaline and that kind of intensity can only be sustained for a certain period of time. And then
Right.
there will be some point at which you don't want to do it anymore. And if you don't want
Sure.
to flame out completely, then you
Maybe.
can exercise some,
Maybe I do. Just
and well,
crash out, hit the wall,
I
and
think the
burn
way that you do it,
everything.
Colleen, is that you do take time to recharge and refuel periodically. I don't
Yes.
know that I did that enough.
Yeah.
Do you know? So like, I think there is some measure of, as long as you're aware in that you are a battery that is draining,
Yeah.
right? And that you have to recharge periodically, even if it's for like 10-minute spurts. I used to say, like, when I saw my friends for like a drink, it would be like just plugging your phone in for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
You're like, I just need a little bit more juice. And then sometimes I'm going to go into low power mode and low battery mode, and I can like a little bit longer, but I'm using a little bit less energy. I
And I
just
think
think
I
that
really realized, sorry, just to your point, Susie, I really realized for me how important our family travel is. And
Mhm.
that has been huge for me, that I feel like I'm constantly planning family travel. But those are the times when I quote unquote disconnect, even though sometimes I'm writing doing an email or writing an offer or whatever. But like, those are the times that I intentionally plan for and we've set aside. And
Yes.
I think you're so right. Like I've run businesses that have crashed and burned because we were sleeping 8 hours a week
Right.
and drinking, 5-hour energies, like 3 of them a night, which by the way, I don't recommend. And
God, no.
it was like, when I
Yeah.
think about a 5-hour energy, I can literally feel it burning down my esophagus. And I've done that. And I think one of the things that I have been very thankful of is the leaders and the mentors and stuff that I have in this field and this career. And I say that in two forms, good and bad, right? I've seen the good
Mhm.
and the bad. I've seen what I like, I've seen what I don't like. And I think when you're able to really observe, and I think this is something that I'm really good at, and I don't say that with any shame or anything, is I'm really good at observation. I'm really good at looking at a situation, observing it, and being able to take that information and synthesize it into the future. Watched a team lead crash and burn,
Mhm.
and watched you build saw the end of your real estate career and the building of this new coaching career, right? Like I'm watching Cheryl build her business and we're building our businesses side by side. I'm watching Allie build her business and seeing what she's doing side by side. And when you have that ability to observe and also have the passion about loving what you do, but also realizing that I'm doing this for my family and
Mhm.
that's the reason.
Mhm.
I think that's the secret sauce, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the way that I hope that I can
Right.
make this sustainable for as long as I want, because to be honest, I don't want to be a realtor for my entire life. That sounds
Right.
terrible to me. I don't want to be 75 slinging houses. Like,
No, when
I
I'm
think
75, I want my kids slinging them and like continuing my empire.
yeah,
And, I want truly, I'm building this so my family can walk into it if they want. Walk
if they
into
want
a ready built,
or
just don't
sell
fuck
it.
it up. Let's go. Yeah,
Yeah.
or sell it. Exactly. Walk away from it. I wanted to circle back to the breaks conversation we were taking,
Yeah.
like the recharge. And This made me think of it where Susie, you said, even in your relationship. So like distance makes the heart grow fonder. And it's going to be the same with your business. I need a break from my kids. I need a break from my husband. I need a break from friends sometimes.
Yeah.
Of course, distance from work and your baby that you're building
Yeah.
will also make the heart grow fonder. Like I feel after this last 2 weeks of just doing the bare minimum of what needed to happen, I feel recharged and ready to like, let's go.
Yeah.
I'm ready to shift my focus back to this and go
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
because I had a break.
Yeah. On that note, I wanted to circle back to what I thought this was the good segue into this conversation about team building and business building from what you guys were talking about in the very beginning, which was mostly about families and relationships, because that's a piece I think not enough people think about, that when you're hiring people for your team, you are creating relationships.
Yes.
That it is, I don't believe that a business is a family. That I think that term is too, there's like, it's fraught with problematic, right? Like,
Yeah.
it is yeah, there, you can walk away from these people. They're not your family, and you
Right.
don't owe them the same amount, and you're not going to sacrifice in the same way. So they're not really family, but it is a relationship. Do you know, when I was in a partnership, I often said that was my other marriage. I mean, it
Yeah.
was very much a, we fought, we made up, we like had to set ground rules, we had to learn how to communicate with each other, and I don't think enough people take that element of hiring as seriously as they should.
Yeah.
It is a business relationship, but it is a relationship that drains you in such a way that it affects the rest of your life, especially for women. I think
Yep.
more for women than for men, I would say, right?
Yeah.
It is going to weigh on you, those conversations that you have, the evaluations that you would need to have. So that's why all the more that you can set up your standards, your structures, and your support, the more equipped you will be to do it with clarity rather than emotional
Yeah.
decision making.
Well, this makes me think of Jennifer Vick, who, when she's talking about her team, she always says, well, let's go back to the handbook. She's with her sweet Southern draw. Well, let's go
Yeah.
see what the handbook says. And then the handbook fully supports whatever it is that is the issue. And she doesn't have to be the bad guy. She just gets to gently nudge and remind, like, this
Yes.
is what we've agreed to. You're on board knowing that this is our standard and this is our
Right.
system.
And let me tell you, that has already happened to me on my team, where there was just questions about like, well, I think I X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay, well, let's look back at our agreement. What does our agreement say? Because,
Right.
like it had to do with our contractual agreement and stuff like
Right.
that. And it was easy for me to lean on that in an
Right.
uncomfortable situation.
Right.
Right. And so, man, I think we could literally talk about this for 47 billion more hours, because there's like just so many instances or scenarios or anecdotes about why these things are so important. But Susie, tell our lovely listeners again, because I'm sure we have new ones, where they can find you, how they can coach with you, all of that.
So I gave up on TikTok, so you can now only find me on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
I did delete it right before the ban, and I'm glad, although I miss it.
Miss
Okay, Susie NJPA is my handle on Instagram and Facebook. And then you can also find me on LinkedIn and on my website, susieadamson.com.
Amazing. Listen, if you are in real estate and you're not coaching with Susie, what the hell are you doing, man? What the hell are you doing?
I think you say this every time I'm on, and I love it.
I mean, it's just,
I'm just gonna put that on a bumper
what
sticker.
the hell are you doing, person?
Well, and Susie, I would like to invite you to our Inspire Her as an expert speaker one month. I'd love if you came on. You'd have to generalize a little bit more, but you totally could. And
Oh my God.
you know it all. But
You're
I
right.
think that you'd be like the most effective expert to have in our Inspire Her group.
Hell
Happy
yeah.
to do it anytime.
The other thing is our Inspire Her group is now open nationally for virtual only. So if you don't have a local
Ooh.
chapter, don't worry. We've got your back. And
Got
we can-
virtual membership now. Literally international. Could be anywhere. You could be literally anywhere
come
that
where
has
you
the
are.
internet.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
I know.
All right.
And
I
you
look
get
forward
experts
to
like
that social
Susie.
media post I can share.
Yeah, we're working on it. It's on our to-do.
It's on our task list. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot
Just
there.
keeps getting snoozed and snoozed.
There's a lot.
I have those.
We had a couple things go on the last few weeks.
Yeah.
So
All right. I'll see you
You're a
soon,
gem.
Carol.
we love you.
I know. I'm so
Thanks
jealous.
for being
I love
here.
you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us on this journey of laughter, life, and growth.
And remember, you're not alone on this path to success. We're right here with you every step of the way.
Please remember to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you found value in today's conversation, we'd be thrilled if you would leave us a review on your favorite platform. Your feedback means the world to us.
And don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, and anyone who could use a good laugh and some practical insight into navigating the challenges and triumphs of our minds, body, soul, and business.
Remember, we're doing this right.